Hello there, and thanks for joining us on TVC Midday News. We begin in Abuja, where an FCT High Court has dismissed a charge filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha. The FCC had instituted the criminal charge of alleged fraud against the former governor, whom they alleged he committed during his tenure. And this will be the third decision that will be delivered by a court of competent jurisdiction over charges of fraud filed by the EFCC against Senator Okorocha. The Federal High Court Abuja had in February discharged the senator of a 2.9 billion naira fraud charges preferred against him by the EFCC. Justice Eyang Eko in the ruling struck out the charges for contravening Section 105 Subsection 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of the year 2015, which gives the Attorney General of the Federation the power to recall a case. The court agreed with Senator Okorocha that the earlier judgment of a court of coordinate jurisdiction sitting in Port Harcourt between him and the EFCC, restraining the agency from further proceeding on the alleged offense, subsists.
Nigeria is a nation. We must do everything to protect its integrity. I believe that nothing should discourage the FCC from doing their work. They should do their work. They're doing quite well, but they should try to make sure everything is within the ambit of the law. That's just what we're saying. But I just thank God Almighty that finally, the third time actually, that same court is saying the same thing over and over and over again. So this is not about who is who has won or who has lost. It's about this nation. Fighting against corruption is something that must be done. Now we must continue to do that. Support the to do that, but let it be within the ambit.
Staying with the course, the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal has reserved judgment in the petition filed by the Allied People's Movement. At the resumed sitting on Friday, counsel to the petitioner and the respondents adopted the final written addresses. The Independent National Electoral Commission, alongside the APC and the President, asked the court to dismiss the petition for lacking in merit. They argued that the issues canvassed by the petitioner have been settled by a judgment delivered by the Supreme Court. The APM's ground for the petition is that the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, was allegedly not qualified to contest, having engaged, according to them, in double nomination. The chairman of the panel, Justice Haruna Samani, announced that judgment has been reserved and a date will be communicated to parties. He added that the court plans to deliver its judgment in the petition by the APM the same day with that of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Away from the courts now, President Bola Tinubu has declared a state of emergency on food security in the country. The president has also directed that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability be included within the purview of the National Security Council. President Tinubu also says his administration will deploy some savings from the petrol subsidy removal into revamping the agricultural sector. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde reports.
President Bola Tinubu says his administration is worried about the clear and present danger to food security in the country. The recent policy of fuel subsidy removal has taken a toll on food prices and now threatens food security. President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on food security seeks to reverse the inflationary cost of food items and ensure affordability.
The president has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1, a state of emergency on food security. 2, that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council.
The annual inflation rate in Nigeria rose for the fourth consecutive month to a near 18-year high of 22.41% in May this year. These new measures introduced by the Tinubu administration is meant to stop the hike in food prices and possibly force a downward trend.
We shall create and support a national commodity exchange board that will review and continuously assess food prices as well as maintain strategic food reserve that will be used as price stabilization mechanism for critical grains and other food items.
It seems this time the federal government may be out to find a lasting and sustainable solution to the farmer herders conflict, which again is a serious threat to food security. President Tinubu's administration says it will adopt ranching as against cattle herding. The president seeks an increased and improved participation of relevant government institutions and stakeholders in the agricultural sector. But he insists the Central Bank of Nigeria will continue to play the lead role in funding the value chain of the agricultural sector that already accounts for 35.21% of employment in Nigeria. This latest government initiative is expected to draw the country closer to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 2, which focuses on ending hunger, achieving food security, improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
And at the National Assembly, the Senate has passed an amendment bill to authorize the issuance of 819.5 billion naira from the 2022 supplementary budget to provide palliatives for the poor and vulnerable Nigerians. The upper legislative chamber also considered and approved President Tinubu's request for an additional financing of $800 million for the National Safety Net Program. National Assembly correspondent Jesu Adeoye reports.
Since the fuel subsidy removal, there has been calls from various quarters for President Bola Tinubu to come up with ways and means of easing the sufferings of poor Nigerians bearing the brunt of the ripple effect of subsidy removal. This has prompted the letter President Tinubu sent to the Senate. The first request made by President Tinubu is an amendment bill that will authorize the issuance of 819.5 billion naira from the 2022 supplementary budget to cushion the harsh effects already felt by the fuel subsidy removal.
So succor, because of the pain they are now, even though, well, we might say it's pain, but in the long run it's going to be something that's beneficial. And I'll begin to see it, because more money is now coming to the coffers of government that will be used in executing capital projects all over the country. So I call on my colleagues to support.
Get the 500 billion to provide palliatives for Nigerians in as a result of the reform being introduced by this administration.
President Tinubu also wants the approval of the Senate for additional financing of $800 million for the National Safety Net Program to be sourced from the World Bank. Under the conditional cash transfer window of the program, the federal government will transfer 8,000 naira per month via digital transfer to 12 million poor and low-income households for a period of 6 months, with a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals.
You may also wish to note that the purpose of the facility is to expand coverage of shock-responsive safety net support for the poor and vulnerable Nigerians, and to help them cope with the cost of meeting basic needs.
The Senate suspended its Standing Rule 78, subsection 1, to ensure it expressly considers Mr. President's request and pass it for immediate action.
It was quite a busy day for lawmakers as they thoroughly debated and scrutinized Mr. President's request. But the waiting game for President Tinubu's ministerial list continues as plenary was adjourned till next week, Tuesday. Jesu Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
And with the confirmation of service chiefs by the Senate on Thursday, the security chiefs have promised to tackle the country's challenges head-on. And their confirmation comes barely 24 hours after troops of the Nigerian army killed 3 bandits in Mangu, Plateau State. But the security situation in the country continues to evolve, throwing up new challenges, as Sifon Essien reports.
Security forces have been put on their toes following a recent directive by President Bola Tinubu. The tasks before them include ending the carnage in Plateau and Benue State, as well as restoring peace to troubled parts of the country. Nigerian army troops on Wednesday killed 3 bandits in Mangu in a renewed offensive to curb attacks. Constitutionally, the armed forces are tasked with protecting the territorial integrity of the country from external aggression. They also provide aid to civil authorities, the police being the lead agency for internal security. The Nigeria Security Report released by Beacon Intel highlights the challenges the service chiefs and allied forces are confronted with. Data for June has shown there were 460 incidents that resulted in 239 abductions and 854 fatalities across 234 local government areas in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The North Central had the highest number of fatalities. The numbers will further be pushed up by recent killings in Plateau and Benue State, where the death toll in Saturday's attack in Ukum local government area has risen to 30.
Benue is a peaceful place, and we wouldn't want anything that will tarnish this image. These are killings from within.
The Chief of Army Staff has assured me of the renewed commitment of the Nigerian Army towards ensuring an early resolution of the crisis on the plateau. As a government, we are also ensuring that we do our part. We are providing all the logistic support we can.
We will continue to follow peace, to ensure that we have a peaceful environment. We have taken steps to address the challenges. The new GOC has already moved, like His Excellency just mentioned. We all know Plateau as the home of peace, and we want that peace to be restored. And we're going to do everything that is required to ensure that we achieve peace and tranquility in Plateau State.
But beyond the crackdown, there is a need for the government to pursue an elaborate security sector reform and improve security sector governance, as well as improve transparency. This, according to Beacon Intel, will result in winning the hearts and minds of the people. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Abuja.
Staying with insecurity, the Nigerian army says it will not dialogue with armed bandits or kidnappers, but it will continue to hit hard on the terrorists until peace is restored in all troubled communities, especially in the northern part of the country. The General Officer commanding a division in Sokoto, Major General Godwin Matkut, stated this in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, and Theophilus Darufai tells us more.
Communities and highways in Zamfara and other states in the northwest region are experiencing the resurgence of banditry and kidnapping. The latest was the ambush on policemen at a checkpoint in Bungudu local council of Zamfara state, which led to the death of 4 police officers last Tuesday. But the General Officer commanded 8th Division Nigerian Army says the army will not succumb to any pressure to reconcile with the armed bandits and other enemies of peace. The Army General stated this while inaugurating RSM House at the Army Cantonment in Gusau.
They've been dealt with. That's why they are calling for negotiation. And that's why they said they want to come out and talk with us. But we are saying talking is not the solution. If they want to surrender, they should come out outrightly and surrender. Nobody negotiated with them before going to the bush. When they wanted to pick up arms against the government, we didn't negotiate with them before they did that. And now that they feel the fire is on them and they want to negotiate, well, I won't call it negotiation. They should just come out and surrender. That's all. Negotiation, I feel, is a booby trap. They've done this in the past and it didn't yield any result. So why still repeating the same mistake again? When they are ready, come out, surrender. We welcome them.
General Mutkut says troops will continue to pursue the terrorists into their hideouts, despite the start of rainy season, which makes it more difficult for troops to access their camps.
Before now, there were plenty places we've not entered. But as it is now, despite the rain, we are going to places that the bandits ab initio believe we don't have the means of entering those places. There are places surrounding the whole of this Zamfara. All the bushes, nooks and crannies, we've been going there and we've been giving them bloody nose.
He says the army is proud of the 1 Brigade Nigerian Army Gusau, especially in neutralizing bandits and the rescue of hostages. The assurances by the army authorities to rid Zamfara and other northern state of insecurity is coming at a time the Zamfara State Governor Dodolo is seeking the support of the defense headquarters and the European Union to tackle the menace of banditry and kidnapping in the state. Theophilus Darufai, TVC News, Gusau.
The Department of State Service has charged former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele to court. Recall that an Abuja High Court had on Thursday this week ordered the DSS to either charge Mr. Emefiele to court or release him on administrative bail. The service had in 2022 applied for a court order to detain him in respect of a criminal investigation. And though the former CBN governor had obtained a restraining order from an FCT High Court, the service arrested him in June this year on the strength of suspected fresh criminal infractions or information, one of which forms the basis for his current prosecution. And the DSS assures the public of professionalism, justice and fairness in handling the matter. Operatives of the Ilorin Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have arrested 13 Chinese nationals over alleged illegal mining activities. The suspects, comprising a female and 12 males, were arrested at the GRA area of Ilorin. The offense is contrary to and punishable under Section 1, subsection 8b of the Miscellaneous Offences Act of 1983. And prior to their arrest, investigations on the activities of illegal miners in the state had revealed that the operators have different illegal mining sites in almost all local government areas. The Ilorin Zonal Commander of the EFCC, Michael Zekwe, says the suspects will be arraigned in court upon the conclusion of ongoing investigations. In Taraba State, the House of Assembly has cleared Governor Agbo Kefas's 21 commissioner nominees for appointment as members of the state's Executive Council. Chairman of the House Committee on Information, Nelson Lent, says the State Assembly is impressed with their level of competency. Owolabi Adenusi filed in this report.
The House Chairman on Information said the commissioner nominees were all cleared at the end of rigorous exercise. He explained that there was an act of omission from the governor as there was no nominee from Yoro local government area of the state.
21 nominees were sent into the House by the Executive Governor for screening and confirmation, which few minutes ago we just concluded the process. I will tell you, from what you ask is not an oversight. I want to assure you the Executive Governor is fully aware of this and is working on it. And I assure you, and I assure the people of Yoro, that he's going to come up with something to represent them. It is their constitutional right, and it is stated in the Constitution as well, that at least a nominee of commissioner, one from each local government, should be represented.
He commended the governor for attaching the portfolios of the nominees, which he believed helped the lawmakers to ask specific questions to ascertain their level of competence.
The House is very much impressed with this set of nominees. You can tell for yourself, this wasn't just a mere exercise. They were thoroughly screened, and you can tell from what they presented before the House, they are well experienced and vast in areas where they are posted to serve. And I want to assure you, and I want to let you know that this particular House will work hand in hand to see that these nominees, by the time they are being sworn in, they deliver on their mandate. This is the first time, if I am not quoted wrong, that nominees are sent into the House with portfolios attached to them. This is for the purpose of being concise on questions that should be asked to those nominees. And you will believe me that they did very well, and the House are very impressed with their performance.
The House also approved over 40 advisors for the governor.
Outside Nigeria now, India's space agency has launched its homegrown Chandrayaan 3 moon mission at the Satish Dhawan Space Center today. Built on a budget under $75 million, the Chandrayaan will attempt to land a rover on the moon and establish India as a formidable force in space exploration. A 43.5-meter launch vehicle will blast the spacecraft into an elliptical Earth orbit before it loops forward or towards the moon for a scheduled landing near the moon's south pole around August the 23rd this year. If successful, Chandrayaan 3 will make India the fourth nation to successfully land a spacecraft on the moon, joining the Soviet Union, the United States, and China.